Alrighty, folks. Welcome back, everyone. 欢迎大家回来。今天是第541天。Ugh. It is day 541. Do I know Faker? You mean XK Telecom Faker from League of Legends? SKT? Yeah, I do. If that's the Faker you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I still played League of Legends competitively back then. I was on the older side compared to Faker, obviously. But still played competitively then. I actually stopped a little bit after Faker's rise after season 2. You wonder if he's like known in Korea in general. That's a good point. That's a good point. The esports category in Korea actually was it contributed substantially to the like the country, like a government level of exposure. So I would imagine to some extent, like he was in commercials and advertisements and a representative. There was some ambassador like exposure, ambassador level exposure when at the height of the esports thing. Now, is it still a higher height? It's been a while since I kept track of the geopolitical optics of esports in Korea. So this stuff might no longer be true, or it might still be true and escalate it even higher. I think the whole esports idea has mellowed out as opposed to continuing to rise during that time. It was very high peak traffic. That's when I stopped playing video games competitively. Like, I was getting older. I was in my mid-20s, and the whole like MLG, like Major League Gaming, that spawned into esports, the larger esports organization. That's when I started becoming more interested in optics, politics, like multicultural stuff. So I stopped playing video games or performance-based things. Do I know Doublelift? Yeah, CLG Doublelift. His highest exposure for Doublelift was when he was part of CLG. Yeah. Right? CLG Doublelift. There was a time for a team solo mid. I don't know who was the team solo mid guy. Was Doublelift part of TSM? What about Showmaker? Showmaker, that doesn't sound familiar. What era was Showmaker? I don't think Showmaker was part of the pre-Faker era. That might have been the post era. I didn't get that far into it. Showmaker is pretty new gen. Yeah, I'm not familiar with new gen. I also am fairly familiar with the popular people, the new mid king. Oh, I see. So you still keep up with LCS, huh? Or like league competitive stuff. Interesting. I don't know the scene anymore. When I kind of quote unquote unofficially retire from considering a career in like a side hustle in that type of stuff, I started playing Overwatch. So then I knew all the season 2, 3 Overwatch. So 1 and on up to like season 3, 4 Overwatch, the OWS, right? And And then that is the last time I also did something competitively in that one. So I haven't been keeping track last 4 years. He's at least season 10. Oh. S10 TO12. Okay. So you know ANS. Okay. You wait, are you asking me or are you saying ANS? Yeah, I don't follow anymore. I still play Hearthstone. That's the last thing. And Hearthstone, I followed for like the 3 or 4 seasons. If you know ANS, Overwatch League player. Oh, yes, yes. That ANS, yeah. I was more on the. Who's the Zenyatta player? This is more like memory recognition now. I need to attach it, but I'm more the time of the Zenyatta player. Forgot his name. I totally forgot his name. Dang it. I followed the support and the tank players. So it was quote unquote the faker, I would say the faker analogous in Overwatch. Let me see if I can pull up this. Oh, yeah, Jonak. Jonak. The Korean player, Jonak. That's what I mean by Faker, because Faker was a support player originally. You know, he was known for his thresh, right? So very, very similar, analogous coincidence. When I think Faker, I think of Jonak as well in Overwatch. The associations, they were both support players, and they were incredibly viral. Even the post like esports craze. And then when it came to that, even before that was Jonak. Joking. Oh, I see. Okay. I was not very up on the upkeep on that one. And then before that was obviously I was a teenager once, so I actually dreamt of being an esports player, like a professional esports player, before esports was even coined the term. It was Major League Gaming, right? And I think the one that I would say is Jae-dong. Like they're Korean players too. So if you're familiar with like Maru, Serral, Jae-dong, Flash, like Boxer and stuff. I'm not sure if this is before your time. I don't know if it's before your time. StarCraft was the first competitive thing. Pero, oh, that's funny. Yeah, the StarCraft one. Yep. And then when I got older, right? When I got older, I got more into casting. That's still dominating, if you remember. Yeah. There's still your standard, it's the old bulwark of esports or Major League Gaming before esports became more of a coin term. Major League Gaming was kind of like the professional term, right? Professional gaming or Major League Gaming. And I used to play StarCraft. So the things I talk about when someone says like they want to become the best gamer in the world and stuff, I don't think that ever faded from my generation anyways. It was certainly far, far less popular. However, my behavior, like the way I am now, I focus on hosting, like educating, commentary and stuff. That follows very similar trends. Like when you have athletes, for example, like football players for the World Cup, topical World Cup, eventually when they get older, they like to disseminate information, so they become casters, commentators, and whatnot. From the StarCraft era, Day 9 is probably who I would highlight. Day 9. Coffer's brought up Minecraft. I would say the cynical Brit, was that how he called himself? He passed away, unfortunately, from an early diagnosis from cancer. The cynical Brit would be one of them. Yachtcast. So I followed lots of, after my posts, like competitive lifestyle, when I was younger and super competitive with myself or with other people. I then transitioned into learning the landscape of things. So most of my knowledge is secondhand. I am not a participator in any of these things anymore. And I'm not saying that like I'm sad, like I want to participate in these things anymore. It was very tough. Like in for my current age, I do not feel that I want to do that ever again. Like I've done it and I don't relish going back. I'm not a nostalgic person too much. I don't have regrets. I don't typically regret missing something. So nostalgia plays to people who pine for their past most of the time. Like I don't it doesn't matter to me if I could or would have become an excellent professional gamer. I did the things I did and now I am more than that. That type of thing. You was a tryhard but never aspired pro play. I obviously, you could have imagined I was a Chinese kid. That's the oldest son of a traditional Chinese family. I had to be number one in everything. It didn't matter how I felt, and you might take it with a grain of salt. It's not how people feel, like if that's wrong or right. When I was raised, it is accepted as true, as truth. I am the oldest son in my family, and I should spank everyone else. So to be good at something is to keep doing better than everyone else. So despite all of that, I am the person I am now, who is probably have what someone could say, well, that sucks, you lost your edge. And I'm like, that's great that I lost my edge, because now I'm just simply a coddly, nurturing person as opposed to a hard edge person. Like I talk about my young self quite a lot, like at a distance, largely because I don't have to remind myself of who I was or what I was like. I see it every day. I see it in esports players. I see it in you, drama. I see it in coffers sometimes. I see it in, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad or a good thing. But usually, that's kind of the idea. Like, the behavior is still there. Like, we are human, and I treasure seeing ambitious youth doing their thing and aiming to be try hard, regardless if it's like something needing to be recognized or not. I was like that too, for sure. And depending on how you feel when you're eventually 40, I'll be 60 by the time you're 40, right? And I ask you again and you're like, man, I wish I did this. Man, I wish the good old days. Man, I wish they would re-release something so I can relive the time. Or you end up being someone like me at this time in another 20 years where, like, man, I can't wait to see what else changes in the future. Like, constantly pining for the past is one of those things that sometimes divide me from, substantially contrast me with other people of my age, where you have individuals who, like, if you bump into another person, say another 40-year-old, there's a chance that 40-year-old will tell you, oh, hey, kid, you didn't even get it good. Back in my day, this is what gaming was like. those, you probably hear a bunch of those individuals before online, like, oh, gaming was good 20 years ago. These kids don't understand how gaming is. Like, that's the type of conversation I tend to have online if I ever meet someone my age. It's the other side of adult aging, the side where experience makes one prideful and arrogant. I grew up in an environment that I always felt like I need to catch up and do better. There's always a next step. So now in my old age, there's still always a next step. Yeah. And it's not like I dislike these people. I have conversations with these people. We simply have different perspectives. And that perspective can be very jarring. Like, I still have one or two high school students that if I sit down and we talk about the future, like talk about the kids, talk about the young people, one person would be far more characteristically cynical because they have pride and arrogance in their own upbringing. For myself, I gamble all on the next generation. Gambling was a lot more fun in the old cowboy days. I suppose. I'm not sure about the old cowboy days. Since my parents weren't cowboys, they were my family were probably farmers. It would be kind of cool to imagine, like, being multi-generational American back in the old cowboy days. Yeah. This is what I tend to draw. Like, it's fun every once in a while to sit around with people of my age. For the record, I interact with people my age or my generation or even remotely anywhere related to my multicultural background maybe once every 2 years or once a year if I'm lucky. So most of my conversation now is about how to sound relevant, topical, and encouraging to people younger than me. So most of my conversation is that I'm inherently far more practiced and probably more suitable to talk to people in their 20s. Now, if you're gonna grab some of the people that I know in my age group, they might tell you differently because they might expect the environment and the competence that they're used to. So like when a young person is complaining about their emotions and their mental state, they could say, just suck it up. I had to suck it up. Like, work hard on it and you'll get over it. That's you want both those perspectives, is my opinion on this. Like, when a young person is seeking advice, you require all of the inputs, and then the younger person can choose to inform. Just suck. Hear me out. I do have a couple colleagues. Their first remark would be, "It sucks to suck. Get good." Like, legitimately, they would say it in a different way, obviously. Generally speaking, though, it would come out as, it's, sucks to suck. So suck it up, right? And for me, I'm obviously the more coddling, now, like, privileged person. So now I'm a lot softer. When I think of privilege, one of the consequences, whether it's good or bad, is when someone becomes privileged, they become softer. They are much more rounded around the edge. So I'm pretty, like, soft. I'm no longer, like, incredibly cutthroat because I don't need to be. GG, no read. Back to lobby skill, boza. Yeah. Or, like, it sucks to be you, that type of situation, right? Like, it sucks to be you over and over again. And righteous indignation. The phrase that I would use to classify, to, like, sum up some of the advice that contrasts between me is righteous indignation. They are right because they are more experienced and older. They went through the trenches. They never had it as good as you. So they know what the bottom line is, the worst case scenario. So when they offer advice, they're expecting you to step up, right? And it's not that they hate you or they dislike you or want to see you fail. They want you to step up. And that's kind of like the harsh reality of sink or swim techniques and whatnot. And me, I'm like one of those people. Do you want to learn to swim? All right, so let's say how much can we spread out the process of swimming, right? Let's spread out. How many steps do you want? Do you want like 12 steps? All right, let's create 12 divisions of labor, and then routinely work up to it across a sufficient time span for you to, accommodate progressively. Another adult would say, just throw the kid in the ocean and see if they swim. If they start sinking, just throw them a life raft and then do it again. Watch them struggle. The struggle is good for them. That's like, it's a contrast, but I am very much in the company of those type of people. Like, what I mean is, it's not bad or good. You have both of them. They both exist. They produce successful people. All of these individuals exist, and I am friends with a lot of them. I'm acquainted with a lot of them. We have different perspectives, different ways we all succeeded, so then our advice reflects our success. They might not say that, though. It's not that they won't acknowledge that it exists. They might just simply not agree with what I'm saying, where like, oh no, the cutthroat person would naturally say, well, your way sucks. It takes too long. It makes them like complacent. Just toss them in the ocean and see what happens, I bungee cord to them and push them off of a cliff and see if they survive. Like, the emotional impact, obviously, if they wake up, light a fire under their butts and see if they go somewhere, take away all the things that they know and then see how much they scramble. I'm saying this because that's how that's how I was raised. Like, you step up all the time. My life, though, my background as I was growing up and getting older, my life deviated away from my parents a lot. So the comfort and the tools and the education led me to believe that when there's a cleverness, there's a smartness to things, it can offset some of the edginess and the ruggedness that's necessary. So you don't have to necessarily walk on eggshells and dive over cliffs and stuff. You could ground the cliff a little, make a car, use mechanical advantage, and that's pretty much how I'm a lot more like softer and rounder than my companions, especially my high school companions, because they're hard workers. They're incredibly hard workers, and I would be doing them a disservice if I ever suggested that I worked harder than them. I don't think I worked harder than my colleagues, especially a lot of my high school friends. I think my high school friends worked way harder than me. Right? And I'm the one that would say working hard isn't enough anymore. It's working smart and hard. You have to do both. While others, not even close. 2 to 3 years. Dagestan? What is the last thing? Back to the... what is the last thing mean? Dagest... A country. That is a country? Dang, I had no idea. Oh. What does that mean? Is that a new thing? You say that to modern kids. Oh. Dagestan, officially the Republic of Dagestan, is a republic of Russia situated in North Caucasus of Eastern Europe. Hold on. Is it because it's a young? What is the undertone? Why do you say that to modern kids? What is the undertone? Is it like hardworking? It's all farmers. Like it's about like the labor, or something? Is that why you say that to the kids? Kind of like a hard work, labor example. I don't know what my hard work, labor example or like smart default is. Yeah. I am definitely not one to ever tell someone, no matter how young they are, I wouldn't ever give anyone the impression that I work hard. I think I'm more like 70% work smart and 30% work hard now. When I was a kid, yeah, I could describe when I was younger how I work, but that's not me anymore. Like it's so difficult for me to ever imagine repeating, and not that I want to, repeating what I did when I was younger. 2 to 3 year Dagestan is a popular internet meme. It comes from a quote by UFC fighter Islam Makachev. He joked that sending an undisciplined son to Dagestan region of Russia for wrestling. Ah, I see. Training will make him a tough, hardened athlete. Yeah, hard work. The entire phrase is 2 to 3 years Dagestan. I see. Yeah. The old adage in the United States would be like back in my day. Or the Chinese translation would also be back in my day, we walked, 20 miles to school and then walked back in the freezing cold. There was no such thing as a school bus or something like that. My parents still do that. And in Americana, it lines up really well with the Chinese thing. Like, do you know what we did when we were young? You probably seen like Stephen Hu's, clips, the viral clips where he like impersonates his father, like his uncle, the uncle or father figure, and always talk about like, oh, we collected water from the water well and drank cholera-ridden water, that type of thing. Yeah, walking up a hill both ways on one foot. Yeah, your other foot starting a business, or you do. My parents do the traditional Chinese thing where you compare yourself to someone who's already established, and then they would use age as a crutch. So like, what your cousin is doing when they were at 3 years old? They were already running an MLM that's worth billions of dollars. What were you doing? Sucking your thumb? I'm over exaggerating, obviously. It's usually something like, oh, you're still 2 years of college and you're complaining about going to college? You know what your cousin is doing? He's like managing 3 restaurants because he has to at the age of 17 or something like that. It's the usual Chinese like joke, whenever you have a stand-up comedian who and this is specifically not talking about Chinese people, so like people who grow up in China. I'm sure it happens or not, I can't speak for them. Second gen has even more nuance to it. Second gen is because you have multicultural stuff. So then all the examples are multicultural examples, not like inheriting a business or stuff. So like, does it work now? Because China is the future. I suppose. Right now, the second gens, the thing is, the parent will always have something to contrast that's different from the Chinese brand of inheritance, like nepotism and legacy. In second gens, your cousins will always be doing something different from you. So like, and when I say second gen, not even Chinese, we're talking about like Vietnamese Americans, like Japanese Americans, any form of second gen, parents can use comparisons because they're engaging in a new environmental cue. So, like, when my parent hangs out with my uncle, right? My uncle and aunts, we would be comparing children, right? Comparing children, their accolades. And it would be a subjective comparison because like, oh, well, my daughter is a pharmacist now. Well, my daughter is a surgeon. Like, well, my son runs 3 companies. Like, the reason is because second gens will not necessarily be comparable in that way, and the intent is there, the cultural intent is there. They want more for you. The whole idea of the comparison is not whether they are objectively comparable, more the uh more the fact that they're trying to encourage their child to want more. Like, they want you to be a surgeon and a pharmacist and also own multiple companies. I would say in China, if I had to make a guess, China still has legacy. It's still churning nepotism. My son met Jack Ma. Yeah, so when you're thinking about like Japan, for example, Japan and China, there's a lot of legacy. They're not, people are not immigrants, right? So they look for namesake, hierarchy, patriarchal movements, right? So you have a lot of inheritance and legacy. And so the comparison would be like an heir, like what you're inheriting, how you're moving in the ranks, your social ranks, and your namesake. My parents had to dispense with that. Like, for example, occasionally they would bring up things like, oh, this girl that you might like, she belongs to a well-known family, right? Or their namesake is good and our namesake is good. So a union between the namesake, that's still, that type of conversation can still come up. However, I think it's far more salient and still incredibly relevant and topical in China and in Japan. Those are the very long hallmarks of long legacy countries, right? China and Japan is very in touch with their family and their legacy. So is my family. However, my family are immigrants now, so we're setting roots, right? We're placing down roots, and I would be the first generation born here, and the second gen of my immigrants. So whenever I'm making comparisons, it's more so that they're not even objectively comparable, because second gens will reflect their country that they are raised in. So it's not like I'm inheriting my parents' restaurant. My parents actually sold their restaurant. The first restaurant that they built here, it's not a restaurant that was open for hundreds of years through multiple generations, right? So that comparison is what I think my parents adapted to. My parents now adapted to just simply comparing myself, like comparing me with whatever is going on with my cousins and nephews and whatnot. Like, for example, the most consistent thing that is comparable is probably schoolwork, because we all still go to school. My youngest cousin, she's off to the top university in the world for medicine. Not top university in the world, but arguably one of the top universities in the world for medicine. Yep. That's what happens when you're in a high namesake family and you're in in an immigrant environment. Like, there's no more than the top. I was not the top in anything. So for the record, I don't think I've ever been, I mean, I guess technically I was at the top in college, but I was still playing catch up most of the time. What uni is the top uni in the world for medicine? Debatably, Harvard Med School. I think she ended up going to Harvard. I don't. Hey, I would have to clarify. She basically only had a lineup of Ivy League schools. The top practicing medical school. So we're talking about the study of medicine. Medical school, it would be affiliated, at least in practice, affiliated with the university I went to. So we're not talking about medical school. Medical school is later. She's not that old yet. I thought you just buy yourself into U.S. universities. We're talking about immigrants here, drama. How would you buy yourself into a U.S. university? You can, though. You can probably buy yourself into Harvard, sure. However, again, the whole context does really make the difference here. We're immigrant families, so immigrant families find have to base on merit. Finding that USB from earlier, true, true. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, and remember that those who buy themselves into U.S. university, I truly believe in people's potential. So just because you can buy yourself into a university doesn't mean you're not the GOAT. I do really feel that it does happen sometimes, right? When life is easy, you might be less ambitious, less prone to merit and stuff. There is a human nature to it, a human condition. When you are incredibly privileged, you become soft, like me. I'm like a heckin' softball, right? Like, I kid you not. If you put me in a room filled with sharks, like people who are still in their 40s that behave like they're in their 30s, waiting to like topple the next Uber, like defending their belt, right? The 40-year-olds who are still defending their belt, like they can jump in the ring and knock out all the newcomers. If you put me in a room with them, I'm gonna lose. Like nobody's business, right? So the idea is they still exist, obviously. However, and even if they have money, they don't go soft. It is possible to be successful or be raised by successful people to have that. There's still the exception. I totally get what you mean when you think about I thought you just buy yourself into a U.S. university. That's the outline of that stuff. It lower accolades because you can purchase yourself through something. So leverage of your privilege. My cousin is the only daughter of a single parent. So despite having the full support, right, of the extended family, my aunt raised her on her own. So, and then obviously that could have impacted her work ethic and how much drive she has. The reason why I'm bringing that up is it is very uncommon at least in my parents' generation to mention single parents, right? My parents belong to a generation where it's absolutely taboo, like almost self-deprecating and self-abusive before you become a single parent. So, and by choice, by the way. So that's kind of an interesting thought. Would I buy my kid into university? You should really watch okay, so before we digress way too far, there's this show that I recently watched. Speaking of Korean entertainment, fictitious. You probably read in the Discord somewhere. I really like the show. You check it out. The teach you a lesson was really wonderful, and it does go over all of the things that we're insinuating here. Teach you a lesson was a really wonderful Netflix funded Korean show. It tackles a lot of things using the Korean perspective. How privilege, despite being in a country that may be stereotypically associated with hard work and stuff, when you were using that example of 2-3 years Dagestan, there are countries that leverage their privilege a lot, and it's also true in Japan. So those things, when you say, I thought you just buy yourself into US universities, that is probably going to happen less likely proportionally to the population than a country that has long nepotism and monocultural beliefs, seniority rules in hierarchy, nepotistic countries. Like, the reason why I'm using this counter argument now is because I grew up in a country that has historically is younger and have higher levels of diversity and immigration. So it's not like going to change the majority, right? The majority of the United States is still multi-generational, but they themselves were also immigrants, right? They were not the native inhabitants of this place. It's a young country. Young countries, whenever you make a comment about buying into things, that also infers a bit of nepotism. So when you pick actors in the United States that can do that, it's a very small portion of the United States. In fact, in Japan and China, it's a larger population. So the country that you're going to is likely going to have buying yourself into the top universities more so than the United States. The United States does not have a long enough legacy. It is the 1%ers that typically where that stereotype comes from. The vast majority of people in the United States can't do that. And whenever I say I managed to get into one of the top universities in the United States, I don't really infer that I had the option of buying my way. Would I? Now, the interesting question is, would my parents buy me into the top university of the United States? I would say the absolute most, like 90% sure they would, because they're from China. If you were from Japan, they would, if they could. Now, it's not to say that Japanese and Chinese systems don't have a way to rigorously assess these students. It also requires money and nepotism in a country with long legacy. Like, if you want to have a deeper dive in like Korea and Japan, like that show, Korea Teach You a Lesson, raises a lot of those concerns in a more entertaining, dramatical way. Your parents literally are your bottlenecks, can be your bottlenecks to a top university. It is both their money, their financial gain, and their standing that the student must also have to compete with the other students. So even their rigorous programs, in order to compete in their rigorous programs, your family must have a lot of money and status to provide the resources to be competitive. And that is actually the tip of the iceberg for the United States. Like, if you have enough money to buy yourself in the US in the university, you're part of the 1%. You're not a social norm. In Korea, China, and Japan, in my opinion, that's a social norm practice. So it doesn't seem like is a problem. It's not a problem if most people think it's normal. So if I had to be really, really direct about this, my parents didn't see that their history and their birth inheritance was sufficient to provide the opportunities for me, right? Eventually for me. So they moved to the United States, where despite being able to possibly buy into a university, there are more people competing to get into the university than if they were in China. That's kind of the really interesting contrasting nature of the comments, right? Like, obviously I'm Drama, I don't want to put you on the spot. This is not to be like offensive or not. I like to talk about the realities of things, and I enjoy that contrast, like how to appreciate it. I actually appreciate how people can buy themselves in their family, can do anything they can possibly. If they have a lot of money, they would throw money at their child to place all their pressure to put them into a US university, because I appreciate that, because my parents would do it without blinking if they could, because that's what the most pragmatic Chinese person would do, in my opinion. Like, if they can buy and ensure that their child get into the top university without your child having to, right, suffer the consequences of failing, or giving them every opportunity, they would most certainly say, yes, let's buy my child and still push our child, right? The idea is you still have to do all those things, but they would most definitely say yes. So the whole idea of the United States being the representative of like nepotistic gains and privilege is really interesting to me, where it's considered nepotistic and opportunistic and privileged because there's 1% versus 99%. The 1% are the bad actors that are representative of the 99%, or you could argue they are the bad actors, but they're actually the 1%. So the social norm is most people can't do that in the United States. In Japan, China, and Korea, it is normal to leverage all of your parents' legacy, namesake, privilege, and your parent is responsible for paying for your tutors, your workloads, whenever your child falls behind to be competitive for med school, that you need all those things. So the act of buying yourself into a university is how I appreciate that. Like, would I work any harder or less? That's usually what I focus on now. Like, would I be a lazy person if I were given lots of privileges by having my parents buy me into a US university? Realistically, yeah. And I don't think you have to be Chinese, Japanese, or particularly any type of, like, for myself, it's a human condition. So if you were Chinese, Korean, German, French, etc., when a child receives all that their parents can get, it has a trade-off too. They might not be compelled to work very hard. I don't necessarily think it's something that is like humans are born differently in that capacity. You would, compared to your other peers, likely have less pressure to do so. Now, there's always the element of human individuality. So I do enjoy talking about those things. There's always room for stretching. Like, if someone gets bought into a U.S. university, do you have mixed results? You do. The irony here, in my opinion, is oftentimes the stereotype about the United States, like, the quote unquote lazy rich kid stereotype. It represents such a small population. And yet, like, more countries that have long legacies, much, much older than the United States, that's a norm. It's a social norm. So it's not being used as a point of contrast. Like, in Japan and Korea, since we have a lot of media about that, their parents would do anything for their child. Dump money on all of their education, pander to anyone who's higher up, spend tons and tons of money to gain favors to get their child into a medical school. And that's normal. So because it's normal, it isn't seen as like a way to stick out. So people don't talk about it very often until certain shows come out and they talk about those things. To me, it's neither bad or good, because I'm genuinely very curious. If my life was different, if my parents were second gens, right, I would imagine they succeed as second gens. And then when they have me as a third generation, they would most definitely pay anything to ensure that I have all the edges in life. If they were the 1%, uh, I would say the odds of a second generation to be 1%. Just look at me. Am I 1%? I'm not 1%. I'm not even close to 1%. Uh, now, now, hear me out. Hear me out. In terms of money, I'm not 1%. I think I'm fairly close to 1% in other things, like educational background. I think my educational background is close to 1%. However, you can't really. I like to think that if I had a child of my own, I could pass on that privilege of being 1%, so I could be my child's teacher, right? Like I could help with my child's homework and give them guidance. Like I could be a nurturing parent that integrates different strategies. That is also money. That is the hidden cost of money and legacy. So that's what I mean by I don't really frown upon Korea and Japan and China and stuff to do exactly what everyone uses the United States as a poster child, a punching bag for nepotism and like privilege. China, Japan, and Korea just, in my opinion, simply normalized it. It happens in Germany. I mean, obviously, you and I, we already shared that we have multicultural backgrounds, and usually it's hard. It, it's. I like to believe that hard work, merit, sweat, 2-3 years in Dagestan is the thing, and the harsh reality, at least in my opinion, like some people would think it's a harsh reality as in a bad thing. I came to terms with my heart, like the harsh reality. It made me strong, right? 2-3 years, it made me very strong. It also made me understanding that if I had a child today, I would have a motivation to make billions of dollars so that I can pay my child to the top university in the United States. Not because my child is going to be lazy. I am going to push my child very hard. And then now we have the tiger mom and stuff situation, right? Obviously, I'm male, but there's not really a phrase for the single parent, male single parent, in the Chinese sense of the term, because I'm a modern second gen. So there are non-traditional family units when you integrate into another culture. If I was a Chinese son, right, raised in one country, I would likely have already married and had 2 children, at least one son, right? That's the traditional unit. That's nepotistic and hierarchical unit. But I'm not, so I wasn't even incentivized to want to do that. My parents certainly pushed it pretty hard. They still do. And that's kind of one of those things. So whatever the parent can do for the family, yeah. I know you meant it as a joke, so I'm okay with that. I simply wanted to turn it into like a really serious topic. I would pay to ensure like any money that I can make is a motivation for me. So if I'm living for myself, I have very few motivations. If I had a child, like I knew I'm gonna become a father in like 9 months, oh, I drop streaming, right? I drop streaming right now, or I find a way to monetize and start making money again, because I want to throw millions of dollars at my parent, at my child, and play the game, right? Like, how do you be a better parent? Be better parents with more resources than the next parent. That's what my parents, for lack of a better word, that's what my parents instilled in me. You have to be better than everyone else. So if it's paying your child to get to a U.S. university, yes, and more. My child is going to be hardworking, smart working, all the money. That's the done deal. So it is interesting that it still will appear that way, right? Life has a way of creating more Appreciation. Now, hear me out. I think the bad actors that typically people, let's reinforce the stereotype, or like where does the stereotype come from? I think oftentimes the bad acting is something I'm trying to avoid, which is the reason why that there is another association with the stigma of buying your kids into the US university. Usually the relationship between the rich privileged parent is strained with the relationship with the child. So whenever you think about bad actors that associate with even the 1%, so now we're talking about the 1%, like the majority of the 1%. So I would say 5 out of 10 times or more out of the 1% examples, there would be a strained relationship between the very successful parent who's making a lot of money, who disproportionately prioritize their relationship with their children. So then their children does not have a working model or example of the 1%. Now, hear me out. Let's do some math. If you were born to a family of 1%ers, what are the chances that you, as a human being who's going to grow up, see everything else, want to be that 1%? The odds are very low. So then this goes back to my relative perspective on immigration. Like, I'm a second gen. The idea is when my parents are comparing things, there are more options. There are more viable options. Yeah, it would be a very low percent. You don't want to be your parent. Who wants to be that? And if you're wondering, does this happen in Japan, Korea, or China? It happens all the time within the minority. So, like, what's a classic persona legacy? Like, what's a classic persona storyline? Super high privileged, prestigious family member. They have an heir, their daughter or son, and it is often stigmatized or shown that they don't want to be their parent. They don't want to inherit and have their entire life paved out, right? And that's of 1%. So the 1% of Japan, of that, I would say the most common, like more than 50% of their children do not end up desiring to be the 1%, because there's 99% of everything else. You could be anything else in the world, but when you're born and you're locked into being the 1%, it gets harder and harder. Like, it's like a top soccer player, right? Like, or a top football player. You're born into a top football player. What are the chances that your child wants to be just like you, the best football player in the world? Like, so they are literally born into the role to be a 99th percentile. Probably very low. They can still try, and it's through the connection, how close the parent is to the child, that ultimately the less minority, the minority, the child that ends up wanting to follow in their parents' footsteps, are the ones that, of the 1%, it's the professions of the parents that allow them to have time with their kids. Acting, comedy, right? When the parents decide to take their child and have a long lasting, or coincidentally, like Steve Irwin, his child, I forgot his name. I really need to remember his child's name. Steve Irwin had an untimely death. The Australian national treasure with the outback, and his son, follows in his footsteps. That's a super rare, extraordinary thing. Like, it's a super extraordinary chance. It's becoming late. Well. Anyways, I just thought I'd share, right? Drama. I don't know what your parents are like and what your relationship is like with your parents, but I'm rooting for you, all right? It comes down to no pressure, but give me something to brag about to other people. I know we're like just online acquaintances and whatnot. But I have a solid 20 more years in my life, I would say, like a conservative 20 more years. Go out there, knock it out of the park. You don't have to be like your parents, and you could be your parent if you want. Like, that's the idea. And then I would love to brag to other people. Like, if you don't like bragging about to other people how good you are, I would want to do that. I don't have a kid, like, I don't have people that I can help and nurture. So it would be fun to know someone who's like, 加油, right? 加油. 頑張って, right? Do your best. And if I ever, since it's becoming like, if I ever do cross my path with like a stick, a stick with $1 billion crypto in it, you sure as heck know that I'm more the person who, all right, what are all the lists of people that I know that wants to do something with their lives? And I will take all those people and I would divide that crypto and send it out. Because I have no use for that volume. My entire, generally 90% of my life is dedicated to the future generation. Like when I went to college, the first thing I thought about is what would be great to give my knowledge to all the following. Like, I was an educator at heart, so I don't think that has changed as I grow older. In fact, I think I'm more of a hardcore educator now than I was when I was a teenager, because now I'm not like depressed, high functioning, like mania and having trouble with my own feelings and stuff. Now all of that is in check. So what do I have left? My ambition to see really healthy, awesome people. I want the age of amazing people to come back, not the age of self-propelled gluttony and sloth, which is what's, in my opinion, alarmingly happening right now. And I will spend my years in an act of futility, as some people say, to try to change that trend. The age of gluttony and sloth is upon us. Gen Z and Gen Alpha is redefining the propensity of the 2-3 years Dagestan requirement. So hopefully you, right, Drama and Coffers and everyone else your age, will prove the contrary. And it is, in my opinion, much like buying someone into the US university and everything else. I hope that the people who are privileged now, the 40-year-olds and the 50-year-olds who are privileged now, will dump resources into some of you potatoes that are yet to be very, very strong foundation for a sustainable life in the future. It's sweeping arguments. Obviously, I rarely have stake in this, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm a romantic because I can be. In reality, I'm not juggling your future, so I have no actual literal command of whether you get into a university or succeed in stuff. It is up to the person who interacts with me to choose if I said anything that was impactful or anything that was encouraging. I don't want to tell you I am the reason for your success. I think that is incredibly arrogant and prideful, right? What I would love to hear one day is I have affected your lack of sloth and gluttony, because their human reward comes so wonderful when it isn't specifically the result of those two things. Sitting there vibe coding, sitting there hitting a prompt with no meaning or feeling involved, passionless pursuits, constantly people pleasing in the sense that it is automated and backed by objectivity, pure that stuff. I think that is one of the things that I'm concerned about. So as you go to bed, thanks for keeping me company as well, and really appreciate it. I really do want to be like, yo, you know, I know this guy. Like, I'm ready already to be Danny's poster child for talking about his cartoon that he's working on, right? His family cartoon. I can't wait to hear more samples. That last storyboard was fantastic. Yeah, so go get him. Drama, go get him. I'll be that old guy. It's like, dude, you already did this. What are you gonna do for the next 5 years? Are you gonna go buy a yacht? I can't wait to see you in your yacht. Like, have the yacht and don't go broke is probably what I would say, right? Why go broke? Have the yacht and be in Japan. Homeless yacht step 2, yes. Have a yacht, be fluent in Japanese, and also chill with a really wonderful Japanese missus. Right? Right? Alright. I'll leave you to your sweet dreams, Drama. Alright, let's get into our lessons. Put the yacht on green. Alright. Sleep well, sleep well. Okay. Night night. Alright, so Tway song. Tway song, we're shoving, but we're like shoving someone, literally shoving someone. So Song had a problem with the translation. Right. Song had the translations like the finger is doing the shoveling. So Tway is push. So we got it on lockdown now. Tway Song. And
推搡
my hand hit the wrong key.
车辕
车辕. So we had to remind ourselves it's a shaft. Now, this is a little redundant because the shaft has car in it. For whatever reason, I have my blinders on when I'm reading this. Right? This is yuan. Yuan is on the right, and that's kind of about being distant. So I immediately thought distant. However, it's the car that's carrying it. So this does not carry any meaning. So it's yuan plus something to do with a car. It kind of looks like a shaft. And then we are going to add another car. So we're basically, it's the shaft, the thing that you're pulling a car with. Or cart. Sorry, cart. 车辕.
车辕 亨通
Hung tong. So hung is very weird. There's not too much, in my opinion, of interpretation on it. It does get overlapped with pung. Pung for cook because of this armless child. This armless child part is very unique. There are very few armless childs. So it's more or less you're either going to guess pung or le. And le is by default always going to be le because le is the major way of expressing past tense. So we have hung and pung. Now, the reason why pung and hung are overlapping is it differs by cooking part. So the cooking needs the flame. And that's what I need to remind myself. And then tong is to carry out something or something that is carried out in the manner of something. So if this is smooth, which is hard to remember honestly, like smooth, then it is going smoothly. Is passing through smoothly, is proceeding smoothly. Or to communicate, right? Communicating is the passing of information, etc. Although I don't predominantly think of it as communicate, I think of it as pass through. I don't know if I added pass through. I do. Alright, so it's not going to help me that much.
亨通
Other than I'm looking for somewhat of an adjective.
画兜
Do. Do is very weird. It's a pocket. Not just any pocket, but anything that can hold on to something. And then qua deals with holding things in your arm. So a Satchel is an example, although I would more likely say a bag from this, so that's kind of a tough one. Backpack is a little even tougher because you're not really holding it on your arm per se. Like because of the idea of backpacking, but we're gonna go with it anyways. That was a tough one to pick up. It went in a different direction.
话都
We'll try to remember
隔
backpack.
了
Ge liao. Ge is the weird one. And ge was defined as pavilion. And I feel like when we were going through the dictionary, it dealt more with status, like a building of high status. So the cabinet was involved, like politics of high politics, political ranking was involved in most of the categories. So I kind of redefined this a little bit as high. Like a high, and a pavilion is kind of fancy, I suppose, and it's at the top of things. So when you're thinking of a ge liao, liao is an official, so you have to think of a high official. A cabinet member is one of them. I think I might type high official just as a memory device catch.
隔了
I feel like if you think of ge liao, like if you use that term, say try to describe that term to other people of different cultures, it might not necessarily be a cabinet member. It might be an equivalent level of an official. I think this happens quite often when you're translating things, like a prime minister is potentially equivalent to a president, right? And then an emperor and a king. So those kinds of things, I think that's how I create memory links with political words or like members of a government. That's at least how I'm gonna try to remember.
隔了
Now, I'm trying to emphasize here that I'm not replacing words. I'm adding to them. So, I'm not it's not the sake of saying, "Oh, I'm only going to remember this as a high official." I'm remembering this as a cabinet member, and high official is the thing I'm used to. So, if I think about high official, I can think about a cabinet member. If I can think about a cabinet member, I can think about a high official. It's less effort to me to recruit a associated memory that is automatic and tie it to a new piece of information than it would take to think of it as an isolated thing, like two isolated things. I think the general idea of people is they have to think double the amount because they have to come up with something new in order to remember the new thing, to remember another thing that is new. And that is, yes, that would be laborious. And that's what I'm comparing it to. It takes me a little bit more effort, just a wee bit more effort to recruit something that I know, to stack it on top of something else that I'm trying to know, or kind of like take the new thing and stack it on top of something that I already know. So I want to make that clear because it's not the same thing as substitution and displacement. I think that's what other people like. They want to have the right answer, the best answer, the most accurate answer. So you're only remembering one unit of thing. I'm not doing that. I rarely ever do that. I work harder over time and become more efficient at it. So then it becomes easier so I can do more. So I'm typically adding more information. I'm not subtracting information. There are times when I make a mistake and I do have to go back and subtract the information. So how do I do that? I take the mistake that I made. I don't necessarily remove it from my brain. I use that mistake as a step towards the correct answer or the modified answer. And eventually I can choose to shift away from the mistake. Usually, though, as a testament to my approach, I can tell people the story of my mistake. Like, so then whenever someone says, oh, hey, do you have a bad habit of doing this? And I'm like, oh, I did that before. It wasn't a bad habit. It simply was a habit I established, and now it's a habit that I use to get to a more desirable outcome. That's usually how I would phrase things. Like, oh yeah, I totally remember this. Or I would reminisce about my mistakes because I bring my mistakes along. I don't pretend like they don't exist anymore. Like, most people, at least that I've encountered, would like to forget their mistakes. Like, effectively not learn from them. Or they learn from them and then forget that they made the mistake. So hear me out. If you forget a mistake and you pretend like the mistake doesn't exist anymore, when you make that mistake again, you might not know it's the same mistake. Right? There's learning from your mistake, and there's one step even further. Having that mistake be a permanent learning lesson for any future mistakes related to that existing mistake. Right? The nature of that mistake can be forgotten. Like, for example, being arrogant. You can forget how being arrogant means. You can forget being insensitive over and over again. Like, you say you care about someone and you learn from your previous mistake to care about them by trying to consider this thing that someone told you. And then you're like, oh, now it hasn't happened in a while. And then you forget that you've ever made that mistake, and it happens again later. And then the other person is going to tell you, didn't we already go over this? Why are you making this same mistake again? Because complacency does not train routine. So I minimize my mistakes over time because I'm learning from them. And the word that I'm using, learning, means that you learn and maintain it. Most people, when they learn something, it means you never have to maintain it again. It's a one done deal because you expect yourself to constantly use it. Well, do you constantly use a mistake? That's a fun little exercise because I don't think people constantly use their mistake. I do. Whenever someone asks me, like, I put myself in a position where, hey, what kind of mistakes you made along the way? Let me tell you, and let me tell you what I do about them. And then I run towards people who are learning. So when they learn, I have to bring up the examples of what mistakes have I made and what did I do with them. So they come with me. I have an application for the mistake. I'm not saying it's bad to forget your mistakes. If you don't have time or place or application for them, then you forget them. That's the post-learning phase, right? Practice and maintenance retains the things through application. So if you think a mistake is so egregious that you're never going to do that again, then you probably won't until it happens again. And most of the time, people learn a skill that they learned it so well that, yeah, that initial mistake never happens again. They will also never talk about it again. Or they're going to become a guru and they talk about it as though it was really easy, or they forgot how tough it was, or the nature of that mistake in general. Or they sell a product and realize that, yeah, that's a mistake that they made, but they totally forgot about it. That's kind of what happens when you build an educational product. And then that educational product somehow lacks the usual TLC of a learner. It's because that person hadn't learned and encountered mistakes for a very long time now. So all the basic stuff that were mistakes are no longer relatable or caring. For myself, that's what makes teachers different, educators different. They have to constantly be in a state of helping people with mistakes. So even their own mistakes get reminded over and over again. Case in point, when I was talking to Drama, I talk about my past a lot. because those are important lessons that I've carried. And I do that in order to remember them. So when you're learning from your mistakes, yes, you can definitely learn from your mistakes and then use it to build something else. And then you can totally forget about the mistake if you never have to use it again. I do this way where the mistake becomes part of the memory. So if I'm asking myself, okay, so what is my mistake here? What are my weaknesses? It becomes the part of it. Of course, I'm going to forget some of those stuff. The idea is I'm making a conscious effort to do it anyways. And it's about the percentage of how much you remember. You're not there to remember all of it. You're trying to retain as much as you can. And that's my goal. This exercise has become like the center pin of explaining. Whoops. They use cabinet member, right? Yeah.
亨通
This part is pretty much what I do on a daily basis now. We're no longer like in the memorization and recognition stage. So just stay tuned.
话都
I'll be talking about this stuff day in and day out. Until I start a new skill, obviously. When I start a new skill, we'll go back to working on what to change about memorization and all stuff. Possibly, if I start a new skill. I think playing a video game would be probably the closest thing to
车员
using memory and recognition, like raw memory and recognition. Maybe like a light puzzler or something like that. This is a skill for life. I don't trivialize a skill for life. If you want a skill for life, plan routines that'll last a lifetime. Not, in my opinion, focusing on things that will only give you a period of respite and like acknowledgement. Oops. How did I screw this up? Che-san. Oh. Wait. Eh? Oh. What? Oh, Tui. Should Tui, not Che. Tui.
推
Alright.
融雪
Rongxue. So this is snow. Rong is a weird melt. Now, the other melt is pretty good, though. It's the kettle that I forgot. I forgot the kettle radical. Because rong with fire is also melt. This rong. It doesn't have kettle, though, in this one. So kettle is... Ooh. The reason why this is tough is the kettle looks like something else. So kettle is more like ge. Right? Ge is the strongest. And then there's xian, which is really wild. So ge would be my default. So rong is here. And rong is neither of these. And this looks like a bug, basically. It looks like ge, but a bug. Which, if you flip this around, actually, it might actually be clam. Hang on. I think ge is clam. Oh no, it's a different ge. Never mind. Okay. So, snow melts, which can help. I guess. It could lead me down the track of like cold snow or any other thing. This was the one that was as close to something that I could associate with. What the? Oh, wait.
融雪
Okie dokie.
融雪
All right. Get into our character studies before we hit that E3P. I'm a little bit like on the tired side. We basically just sleep, eat, play, study, play at this point. Keep our energy up. Yesterday, near the end, when I was writing, right, I was doing my recall. My hand was like so shaky from hunger. I'm not like starving myself or anything. The timing is like pushing the limits of when the last time I ate. Today I had a bit of more snack before this. You know, play hard, study hard, play hard, right? Our spinning wheel of death here. Okay. What did they use? How did they describe this? I was gonna write 5. Okay. If it's shrine, it could be Dun or Shang. Oh, this is enjoying. What is Dun? Is Dun with a person? So Dun Foreman, right? And then there's 2 Duns with the dirt and mount. This is Xiang. So this is foundational. Xiang is foundational. You gotta know it or you don't. Every other thing is accounted for, except for maybe Qual. Qual is probably devastating. And then I did show because show is the most common one with this character. So it's that one was a sound pivot.
绿
Oh no. Chuan or rinse. Wrong. Not shy. Shy is or schwa not shy. Schwa is brush and brush. Wait. Oh, here it is. Schwa is brush. That's the right side of Chuan. Do I have a word? Shabu. Okay, we do have Xishuan. Xishuan is good. Immediately, I want to type yo, but why do I want to type yo over yo? Oh no.
有
Okay. So I want to type. Oh no. I'm torn. Dang it. Shin, okay, instruction. We might need a bit of Shin here. Reprimand. Okay, instruct and Shin Lian. That's okay. Shin Ban. Okay, Shin Ban. The streaming thing, like streaming not in the literal sense, in the mnemonic is pretty weak. We could look for Hui. If Shun Hui is a vocabulary word. Shun Shi is pretty good. Shun Gu is also pretty good. Shun Du? Not so much. Shun Di? Yeah, I can kind of see that. And then 顺势, yeah, there are a lot of showing things. You can show different things. 顺义, pedagogy, yeah, for sure. Actually, you know what? We'll do you. You is a bit on the weak side. And it's a personal vocabulary that I would like. Pedagogy, the study of teaching, or like teaching itself. Oh,
训
this is either fun or 香, it's fun. Fun, and it's try. That's a special one. That's actually bun in Japanese. So this is one of the pivots that I have to keep in mind. I keep this in mind because bun is very fun, and bun is very different between the two. Oh no, where does the tongue go? I was gonna say 十. Dang it. Duh, wrong location. He's licking something astringent in wrong location.
涮精
I'm torn between two things. I think it's yin or yi. Is this one yin? I lost a 50-50. Gorgeous. I wonder what this can connect with. There's a lot of beauty words. Let's go with, which one do I want? I want some of the weaker ones. Like jiao. Yin Li, that's right on the nose. Yin Shi. Oh, interesting. Erotic verse. Okay. Oh, gorgeous in the sense of, I see. Yin Se, yeah, beauty, glamour. Yin Xian. Ooh. Or admire. Oh, what is literary? Okay. Yin Yu. Encounter. Beauty encounter. Yin Jiao, nude pictures. I can make a nudes joke. Yin Fu, luck with children. Luck with women, I think. I guess Yin Li would reinforce its gorgeous. Sure. Oh, goodness. I'm gonna take a jab and say this is you.
雨
It's Eve's. Okay. What the? Oh, it's Ya or Sprout. And we have double Sprout. Pretty sure. Many Sprouts. Yeah, Meng Ya. Kills Batman. Was it Xiang?
想
Yeah. Ooh. Bamboo finger. Oh no. Oh, Japanese is actually stronger. It's not crude, right? No, it's not crude. It's crush. No! It's cool. It's a hoop. I don't have anything for a hoop. So let's go and find out. The box of towel, like, makes a hoop. Blue hoop. It's fingers. Alright. Hoop. Let's do, like, circle? Chen? Or it could be, like, environment. Or it could be literally a hoop. Like a basketball hoop. Gu Bao Heal the beach. Cantonese. Zi. Interesting fingering dialect. Jing. To fasten tightly with a hoop. Oh, okay. That's okay. Jue. So it's rapping too. Gu Ma. To become numb. I'll rap with like anesthesia, basically. Gu Tong. Hooped barrel. Tong. I'm not even sure if I have bucket. All right. I think we're gonna go with Jing is okay. It's kind of dealing with another concept. Fasten tightly with. I guess you would use a hoop for that.
蛇
Wrong location. I'm torn between Hui and yeah, Kui and Kui. Shame. What do we have for shame? Do we have the other shame? Oh, Tan Kui. Yep. Another shame.
孤雁 翼
We have a vocabulary word.
螺
Stuck between suffering requires a heart. Scatter is not right. A gauze is not right. Was it gauze? It's all right. Let's go over the. All right. Actually, we can look up law. Law is a big power group. So we have law, gauze is the base, okay? Then law for long-winded with the mouth. There's law with the way for patrol, right? And then there's this, that's a different one. Then we have law with the flowers, which is radish. Then we have law, which is basket, the bamboo basket, which is bamboo part. And gauze was the default. I ruled out gauze being the default. I thought it might have had finger or something with it. Dang it.
Oh
It's not stunned. Remorse. We can link this up with the other remorse. Jiu. I think ao jiu might be a thing. Or jiu ao. Ao now. Not really. Ao sang. Sung is pretty good. Sung is on the weak side too. Depressed, despondent. Sung is like loss. Being lost, I suppose. Hui. Hui is repent. Let's do Ao Sung. Okay. So remorse and law. Despondent, depressed. I want to say it's Lian versus Xian. I lost the 50-50. It's Lian for sickle. Sickle. It could be toe. Toe would line up to allow me to remember it's some sort of like axe related swinging thing. Oh, Dao does work too. Yeah, let's go with that. Dao works. It's something with a blade on it.
Bu.
I think they went with like footstep or something. Oh no. It's Chuan. Oh no. Chuan is hard. Oh man. Chuan is foundation. All I can think about is Kawa. Relist this as Kawa. Chuan, okay. Maybe I can link it up with some sort of boat on the river. Oh, wait. Maybe there's a river boat. There might be a stream boat somewhere. Okay, Chuanju does not help because it's using Chuan as Sichuan, short for Sichuan. Chuanxi, yeah. So Chuan is being used travel expense. No, that doesn't. Yeah, Chuan is very much line up with Sichuan, and Sichuan is okay. Well, we'll just have to remember that Sichuan. Sichuan is actually what Sichuan. No, not Sichuan. Sichuan. I remember. Womp womp. Bills and metal. Eh? Is it a like? Oh no. Qing not qian. Admire is one of the weak ones. What was the other one? Qing Mu is. Oh, Qing Pei. Pei is. Actually, you know, Qing might actually pair up with Mu. Qing Bei. Qing Yi. Well, that's a weird looking. Okay, so Qing Pei. Pei is the other weak admire. I was thinking. No, oh, Qing Xian is pretty good. Xian is envy. That's kind of a weak one. Alright, let's add another one. Alright.
Hui.
Oh no, wait. Wrong character. Shame. Although remorse is kind of, wait, do I have the other shame? Oh no, wait. It's Xiang, not Jian. Or mock. Oh wait, we could add a mock. What is a mock? Maybe Wu, Shi, Ray. Xiao, okay, Xiao works too. Oh, impudent. Okay, Xiao's fine. I was thinking like more disgrace, slander, insult.
Chuan.
What? It's a stream, not a river. They're different things. I immediately want to write tan or tan or tan or jing.
Jing.
Is this careful? Okay. Can I be rigorous? Yin. Yeah, Yeah. This is a
善
pivot. However, the right hand is shang, or shan, so kind of help.
连
Wrong location.
心
Wrong translation. Wrong feeling. And this feeling is gone. Why do I think meal right away? The like the hair, the hat hair. Oh, it's probably Chun. Oh no, it's not Chun. So it is Myo. Okay. Myo is the one with there are multiple of these. Hat hair is so we have multiple we have two Myols. Or just one Myo. Myo, the word is erroneous. E is fine. Oh no. There's blue for the kill. Where's the other hat hair? Chun. What was Chun? Chun is supposed to be with the hat hair too. Where's my Chun at? Am I making this up? Oh, it's not. What was it? Okay, well, let's go over this first. Y'all, right? Myo, I lost the 50-50 on the read. Myo. And Jiao is tough. Is it off the hat hair? Probably off. The hair. Where's the Chun at? Oh. Hat hair strikes again. I'm probably gonna sit down and grill some hat hair and that sounded weird at some point. Tongue. What's your tongue?
为
Oops. Zhong.
鸡
Oh no. It's not lopsided. It's yeah, famine. Is that not tongue? Tongue? No, this is a pivot. Oh no, but what is the pivot? I don't know what your pivot is. Tongue, squandering. Alright, what do we have for squandering? Ripple is not a way to squander. Let's go see where in the world did squander come from? Danzhou. That's not squandering either. Dangyang. But both of them deal with like water. Dangfu. Oh my goodness. Okay. Dang. Okay, fluttering is I see where that Dandi. Danjan vanished from the all gone, nothing. Okay, I think we're Dang is more like going back and forth. Oh, I see what that means. Like squandering, going back and forth, like being apprehensive. I think we're gonna redefine this. Maybe like waving or wavering. Maybe even hesitant. That's what going back and forth, squandering. Okay. I mean, that doesn't, I'm not sure if that's gonna help me.
悬
See, I immediately want to just type ghoul. Heck. Uh, ghoul for cabinet. This is off kitchen. Kitchen is right. Oh, those are so awfully specific. Immediately I want to type me.
逆
Okay.
牙
Not lie. Ah, man. So, ooh. Yeah, the washing, rinsing the mouthwash. Can I get a multiple rinse? Do we have multi rinses here? Like, 治疗. It's not great. Recall we already did. 去洗. Oh, 漱洗. 漱洗. That's fine. 洗漱. Wait, do I already have? Alright. Rinse.
招
It's to make it clear, illuminate evidence. It overlaps with the making them something clear, evident. What the ghost tree? Oh,
怀
that is a weird one. Still doesn't look like what it is though. Yeah, that doesn't look cool. Yeah. Oh no, wait. Bundle is shu though. Guess we can stick to bundle. Bundle is the. Oh no. Is it Jung, or Jung? Ah, it's Jung for goods. And I think these imply like stolen stuff. Oh no, it's not. It's just Jung. All right. Well,
旁
I just went with it.
标
This is a dart, right? We do have multiple darts. Let's go in. Pretty sure they would, or not. Biao, interesting. A shuttle and right. 保镖. Intriguing. 飞镖. Throwing darts a boomerang. Sure. 飞镖. Let them fly, I suppose.
树厨畜
Oh no. It's not livestock. It's like stock up or amass or like. Oh no, it's Twitch. He has a finger. What is stock up? That's probably chu chu. It's still chu, right? Or is it? Oh no, it's shu. Okay, Twitch is the finger. Maybe spasm, like yeah, or cho chu. Yo, what? I'm just gonna pass on this. Come back.
谬
Makes me want to type ch. Or shen. That's bait. Today we had bait in Japanese again, and I forgot what it was. Esa? I think Esa. Do we have any other baits? Yor. Bite baits. Yor.
R
Yeah. Oh, I thought I had. Oh no, this is kai. Wait, hold up. I'm screwing up. Wait, what is yeah and it does still deal with beans. I'm fairly confident it still does. So kai is a but because kai I'm using T. Now to beans how. Pretty sure where's go. There's yeah. Oh. Is the Pope. Where's Ka at? Oh no, maybe Ka is Shell. Man, that sucks. I wrote so many. D is turning out stronger than Kai. I reformed this so many times. Let's go find a vocabulary. Like plated? Gui or something. Oh, right. We already have armor. Kaijia or Jakai. Yeah, we already have armor. Of course. We can just add it to armor. The read is harder. The reader is definitely hard. I don't think this is Jung. It's supposed to be a turn, like Lung. Panic Stricken is kind of interesting. Maybe Juan. palpitating with fear. Young Jong in the Young Jong Young Jong. I don't remember Jong. Dumbfounded. Oh, these are all Jungs actually. Oh, it turns out it can be Jung, but we're learning it as Lung. So Lung Ju Dumbfounded. Like this is feared and then retained. I think this is good. Panic stricken and stuck. So you're dumbfounded.
脏 力
Oh. Not oak. Gravel. You have to. Was it how?
凯
I dropped how. And then how do I drop this? It's a pivot.
荡
And we're assigning it.
够
Pivot.
愣
Meaning problem. A stone.
重 央
Mandarin duck. Okay, cool. Getting close. So much yapping. We've been yapping so hard. Alright. Let's close off our yapathon here. Okay. Steady as she goes. Okay. I don't have the shakes today. Mian, Mian, Lian. Continuous. Yaju. Rent deposit. Diao Luan. 不是乱落 Diao Luo. The wither. Tolo. Tolo. 10-year. Ganyong. Occupy. Ingan. Stem. Up. 易经 not 几经是记字 no 字字经字经 boast gun rash 怂恿 incite and 渲染 rendering stampede 动降 phrase 应声 silence 让 正确 disgust 与你 guilt twin twin yin follow 会 admonition. Gotta make sure this actually. Oh, to admonish. Okay, so we do have admonish and admonition. Okay. 陛下 Your Highness. 簿册 or register. 有教 wine cellar. 黑质 mole. Nope. You dingus. 样貌 curtain. 刚 what? 干瘪 shriveled. 艺硕 bright twinkle. 天眼 ammunition. 冰 on the brink. 氢氧 oxyhydrogen. 模范 model. 真销 glamour. 拦住 stop. Collapse. No, collapse. 涧流 mountain stream. 国传 strong and healthy. That's weak. 巨亏 peepat. 永调 永调 corridor. 珠水 scoop up water. 划桨 paddle. 攸关 Ooh, no, not 攸关 攸关 of great concern. 眉睫 eyebrows and eyelashes. shy is weak. I 剪 screen. Shu is weak. Shu be home. Dong Dongjing. Oh. Irresolute. Too long for yearn. 尿 feces and urine. Wait. I think I screwed up. I screwed up. 棉 oh, that's a cotton padded jacket. This is shubi or comb. Way to only hunting canopy. Xuan jian bamboo shoot tips. Ling se stingy. Hung tong to go smoothly. Hua dou satchel. Yuan shaft, arch shaft. Ge liao cabinet member. Wei sang shove. Rong xue. Melting snow. All right, that is a wrap for HanziHero. I did a little bit of yapping in the beginning, right? We're gonna watch this later. 谢谢. As always, feel free to follow along. Pick up HanziHero for yourself. Give it a go. You're always welcome to come on by and yap. Yappity yap. Talk about things. Talk about multiculturalism a lot of times. Something is gonna in some way be related to learning a language, cross-cultural interactions. More than welcome. Keep each other motivated. I do enjoy bragging about other people's exploits. Youth is contagious, at least in my opinion. Let's keep each other motivated. Until next time, 大家下次见. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna get up, take a quick bathroom break, and I will be back for P3P. Thank you.